anytime I see my brothers on the carpet, you know it's going to be silly and it's going to be right, man. I'm glad y'all here. I'm here representing this SNOWFAll. I'm hoping that the audience is going to love it as much as I had a good time shooting it, you know what I mean? Like getting into character, 80s piece. You guys know a little something about period pieces. Y'all know a little bit about that. But yeah, this is like an 80s piece, like how, you know, y'all had a throwback 80s joint. So this is very similar to that. This is like 83. It's like the infancy of cheap cocaine coming into, you know, the United States between, you know, the war with the Contras and the Sandinistas and, you know, the whole thing going on with crack, the infancy of crack, you know. So
now Jerome is a character in this, bro. Now, how is it different from the other characters that you played, man? And how much weight that had to put on your shoulders to kind of lead a series like this?
Truthfully, you know, like, we've been grinding, man. You know what I mean? It's all about foundation. So, to me, I have a pretty good foundation. I'm always working on it. And so when you get an opportunity, you just spring into action and you bring some of that, all that intuition, all that inspiration, all that preparation that we've done over the years. You get to throw that into a character and just, you know, live, bro. You know.
What's some of the traits that you want the audience to take away from it?
Truthfully, I would like the audience not to even be taken by the characters. You know, some of the characters are not over the top, but, you know, kind of flamboyant like my character. But truthfully, there's a heart, there's a story, there's a soul to each character. I think that the writing is very good and that the pace allows you to slow down and really get to see how these lives are being affected by the choices that they're making.
What were some of the challenges that you faced on set, man, as far as like getting into character, bouncing from this project to another project and going?
I mean, perhaps the bouncing from different projects back and forth, because when you're shooting a series, it's over such a long stretch of time that you want to remember where you're at as far as, you know, where in the trajectory of where you're going, where are you at in, you know, in episode 3 as opposed to episode 9 and what's already happened already, you know. But besides that, man, it's just a joy. I've done that already, and you know what I mean, like, that's painting by numbers at this point. It's fun to really step into a character and give your all.
You know, I had come into this with John and Eric Amadio, who had the very original idea, and I had been working for FX on Justified for a number of years, so that ended. They said, we've got a script by a couple guys who have never done TV, would you give it a look? And I did, and a few years later, here we are. You know, I think that you just start, it always starts with an idea, and it's one person's idea, and you kind of keep bringing in people who can bring something to it, right? I hope that I brought something, and then we started finding department heads and hiring directors and casting, and you just kind of ramp up this big machine, and you have somebody like FX who has your back from minute one and helps you find those people and bring them in, and it takes a village, as they say. I was a young buck, man. I was born in '79, right? So I was growing up here in Los Angeles. So I was a child of the '80s and in LA. So
you didn't get to see much, but you was there when NWA was coming.
I mean, yeah, I was certainly aware of all that, right? But I think by the time I was kind of like coming of age, becoming aware of what was happening, crack had already kind of landed, and that area had become kind of the war zone we think of it as now. And I was a little surprised to learn that even as late as '83, South Central was still just like a black working class normal neighborhood. It was a fine place to live, and then crack showed up.
What do you want audiences to take away from the story like this?
Man, I hope it just maybe sheds some light and reminds us of this part of our past. And if, you know, it was heroin and now it's opioid addiction, if it can somehow kind of shed some light and help people deal with some of the problems we're facing now, that would be a beautiful thing.
How far do you think this series can go?
I mean, as far as timeline-wise, I don't know. I mean, I think deep into the 80s, if not into the 90s, and I wouldn't be surprised if we try to find a way at the end to jump it all the way here and make it, you know, make sure people understand why it's still relevant today.
Perfect. Now, can we see you on social media, or do you have an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook?
Well, yeah, I think I'm just Dave Andron out there on Instagram. So give it a look, man.
Dave Andron, thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.